Greetings, my name is Megan, and I am here at Patients Medical with Dr. Vivian DeNise and Judy Penta, and we are talking today about how guys can boost their mojo naturally with identical hormone replacement therapy, nutrition, exercise, and some other tips too. This is going to be a really juicy seminar, so whether you're a woman watching this on behalf of your guy or whether you're a guy who's ready to get some good solid information about how you can just really have a much better experience in life, not having to be dragged down by depression or weight that won't come off or problems in the bedroom, unfocused. This seminar really is for you. So without further delay, I'm just going to talk a little bit about who we are here at Patients Medical. We're a holistic medical center. We are full service here, which means that we have a wide variety of multi-specialists. So I'll tell you about them in just a second here, but suffice it to say, pretty much anyone who comes here with any medical problem, not only are we going to be able to treat them the best we can, but if you need any referrals, then we have some excellent referrals too. Discover health, rediscover vitality. What does that mean? So many different people walk around here, especially here in New York City, and they feel miserable each and every day. They wake up and they feel tired and grumpy, uninspired by their work. They've had a really bad night's sleep, either suffering from insomnia or some other problem that just really didn't let them rest as they should, and they feel just generally miserable, and they don't even realize that they feel miserable until they come and start working with some of our holistic doctors and other practitioners here who kind of make a few minor tweaks to their health, their nutrition, their lifestyle, maybe their hormones, something else, and then they're able to sleep well at night. They get up in the morning feeling energetic and inspired, perhaps even with enough energy to exercise before they go to work, make healthier choices during the day with their nutrition, are able to attract really positive work relationships and personal relationships, and their whole life changes just as a result of a few minor tweaks to their health. And what a difference that makes to these patients. And that's the type of change that we would like for you in your life if you're not feeling so hot. Our doctors actually do this by focusing on the root cause of the symptoms. So that means that instead of just listening to your symptoms and then giving you a prescription that'll probably just cover up the symptoms and maybe even give you more symptoms because the pharmaceutical is causing you a distress in your body, the doctor is actually going to figure out what is causing the symptoms and then how to balance that so that the symptoms just naturally alleviate themselves. Our doctors use modern medicine, holistic practices, natural supplements, and a variety of other different techniques to help our patients each and every day. Our goal is to promote healing and actually prevent disease, and what a novel approach that is in this day and age, where there's cancer everywhere, hormonal imbalance that goes undiagnosed, thyroid issues, Alzheimer's disease, dementia, so many ailments out there, and it seems like if you read the news, there's more and more information about people who are coming down with these things earlier and earlier in life, and it just kind of makes you wonder what's going on here. Well, our doctors actually have figured out how to prevent you from getting most of these diseases that are preventable. And I got to tell you, there's more and more diseases that we're finding out are actually preventable just with nutrition, lifestyle, and a few major other lifestyle shifts. So that would be a huge benefit to yourself and your family, is if you could stave off these diseases before they actually happen. Our physicians collaborate to approach each patient holistically. So that means that instead of having to go from specialist to specialist to specialist, carting your charts everywhere, one side of the city to the other, maybe even going out of state to see a doctor that can help you with a specific problem, all of our doctors are actually under one roof, and you have one chart here. Our doctors speak with each other so that they can agree on a wellness protocol. So you really have a team available for you that's cohesive, that's giving you a consistent message about the steps that you will take in order to either heal whatever has happened to you or prevent further disease. The result is to gain health and nutritional wisdom that can be applied for years to come. So the information that we're giving you here today and the type of things that you would talk to a doctor here about isn't just true for you right now in the moment. It's also true for your kids, for your parents, for your friends, your family. So they're talking about things like how to manage your stress appropriately, how to eat a nutritious diet, how to exercise, how to live a more balanced life all around. So that's something that you definitely will want to share with your entire community. Our founder is Dr. Warren Levin. He began practicing his groundbreaking holistic protocols way back in 1974. But, some of the things that we're talking about today are going to predate even that. So these aren't things that we just came up with a couple weeks ago or a couple of years ago. We're just trying them out on patients now. That's the furthest thing from the truth. These are tried and true, scientifically proven methods that we use for patients every day, and many doctors do. It may seem like a new approach to you if you have been working with a conventional medical doctor, but you'll see, as Dr. DeNise and Judy Penta explain, the rationale behind the shifts that they would like for you to make in order to see the change in your health. It makes a lot of sense scientifically and just common sense, which is sometimes not so common these days. The conditions treated. This is a very short list of conditions we treat at Patients Medical, but if you go to our website, patientsmedical.com, right here in the lower right-hand side of the screen, you'll be able to read about a plethora of different medical conditions that we treat here at Patients Medical. And chances are, if you have a condition that you would like to see treated, go to our website or just give us a call and we'll let you know how we can best treat that for you. Our staff includes medical doctors that are internists, family practice doctors, gynecologists. We have osteopathy, oncology, alternative pain management, pediatrics, plastic reconstructive and cosmetic surgery. We now have nephrology as well, nutrition, kinesiology, reflexology and Reiki, oriental medicine and acupuncture, homeopathy. And if you don't know what some of those words mean, that's okay. You can just go to our website and learn more about them. And here is our roster of physicians and their pictures. You can see all of these pictures and all of these physicians' bios on our website, patientsmedical.com, so you can choose the one that best suits you. So our Patients Medical is, I believe, the definition of integrative medicine, integrating holistic techniques that have been proved for thousands of years in traditional healing arts, and we bring that together with cutting-edge Western medical diagnostics to bring you a complete wellness plan. So let me introduce you to our speakers today. First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Megan Franzen. I'm a patient care supervisor here at Patients Medical. So as always, if you have any questions at all about Patients Medical or our services here, fees, insurance policies, just let me know. You can email media, that's MEDIA, at patientsmedical.com. That'll come straight to me and I'll get your questions answered as soon as I possibly can. Our speakers today, Dr. Vivian DeNise. She's an integrative internal medicine physician and also a holistic pediatrician. She completed her medical degree at New York College of Osteopathic Medicine, and she is certified in integrative medicine with the American Academy of Anti-Aging Medicine, also known as A4M. She earned her fellowship in anti-aging and regenerative medicine and has been certified by the American Board of Anti-Aging and Regenerative Medicine. Her specialties include detoxification, hormonal imbalances, nutritional deficiencies, thyroid disorders, weight loss, gastrointestinal problems, women's and men's wellness, pediatrics, and many more. And a lot of these topics we're actually going to talk about today. These are a few of her specialties here, or things that she addresses in her practice, but definitely this is not an exhaustive list by any means. And then now I'd like to introduce Judy Penta. She's our holistic nutritionist and NASM certified personal trainer. She's board certified as a holistic health counselor by the American Association of Drugless Practitioners and by Columbia University Teachers College. She has her BS in nutrition. The National Academy of Sports Medicine has certified her as a personal trainer. She specializes in fitness coaching, and she uses food, fitness, and lifestyle to get great results for her clients. So let's talk about men's health now. Dr. DeNise is going to start us off. Hi, Dr. DeNise. Thanks for joining us today.
Hi, Megan.
So, Dr. DeNise, tell us a little bit about, when we talk about men's health, I think that most men think of their hormones, right? Just their performance in bed. But, things actually many more things are affected besides just their performance in the bedroom by hormones, right?
Oh, absolutely. And I hope, hopefully that's my goal for everybody listening to this seminar today, to really realize that, yes, although that's an important function of your hormones, there are many other functions, perhaps even more important for your existence. And that it doesn't only start at a late age, it could start at a very young age. In fact, I'm finding that most men coming into the practice now are getting younger and younger.
Wow. And about how young have you seen patients come in?
I've seen patients as early as their late 20s.
Wow. That's really interesting. So these hormones are far-reaching.
Yes, and not only that, but most men think oh, my testosterone. But if you see from this slide, there's 7 hormones in the male body that has a huge effect on them. It's not only the testosterone.
Wow, so it's about the balance of all of these hormones then.
Balancing is an extremely key issue and something I'm going to probably be repeating over and over as we go through this.
Well, that's what they say, is that to really get a concept, it must be repeated. So we will welcome that. And
so this is just, we're talking here about testosterone, but you can see it affects your mind, your body, your sexual functioning. It's the essence of your being.
Mm-hmm.
What this slide shows, and I incorporated it into the lecture only because I think it's important that you see it starts from your brain in your hypothalamus. Your hypothalamus is part of your brain, and it sends out a lot of releasing factors to pituitary gland, which is the master gland in your body. The pituitary gland then sends out 2 hormones, LH and FSH, and it affects the testicles, different parts of the testicle. The Leydig cells are important for secreting testosterone and DHEA and androstenedione, which we're going to get to, and the seminiferous tubules have an effect on the actual sperm production.
Wow, so there's a lot going on here, a lot more than just
exactly
most people might think.
But you see that at that point that there's a lot of different points along the way that can go awry. And this slide really, my take-home point, we're going to get back to this slide also, but my take-home point is that all hormones in a male and female body start as cholesterol. So you really want to be careful that you're not on such a low cholesterol diet that it interrupts your hormonal functioning.
Now that's really interesting because I think most people have been told, oh, cholesterol is bad, right? Don't eat eggs, don't eat things with cholesterol in it because cholesterol causes heart attacks, and especially as men grow older, and obviously women too, we are definitely trying to avoid having a heart attack, but this is something different.
Actually, one of the main causes of heart attacks in men is that the testosterone levels are decreasing. But I'm going to leave that to Judy as far as the cholesterol issue.
Sounds good.
So the first thing we have to talk about is what we were just talking about, is how testosterone safeguards the cardiovascular system. So it actually decreases your serum cholesterol and decreases the incidence of causing plaques in your arteries. It increases the diameter of your arteries, so more blood flows to your heart beats stronger and more effective. Plus it also breaks up clots. So if you do form a clot, having a good level of testosterone actually decreases the chance of having a heart attack.
Wow. So a pretty important point to note, guys.
As far as obesity and diabetes, having a good testosterone level, your fat mass decreases, your lean mass increases, but probably even more important than that, it increases the efficacy of your insulin so that glucose is more utilized.
Mm.
And of course, we see a lot of men, you hear about like the midlife crisis of a man.
Oh, yeah.
And
run out and buy a convertible and get a hot girlfriend.
But it could just be just not having, you could get a lot of depression and anxiety, and they don't know what's wrong, and they're trying to make themselves feel better. But testosterone actually increases blood flow to the brain and actually increases the number of connections from nerve cell to nerve cell. So it improves your mood, it improves your memory, it decreases your anxiety.
Wow. So they don't need to buy the fancy car after all. They can just balance their testosterone. Although the fancy car would be fun.
And of course, it increases the strength of your bones, which becomes very important about, hip fractures and fractures as we get older. It increases your muscle mass, which is more important for hip fractures and fractures in general because it's the muscle mass that surrounds the bone that actually is protecting your bone. And of course, it increases the blood supply to your skin.
Interesting. So I know that there are some guys who are, still having skin issues like acne breakouts and things like that in their 30s and even in their 40s. So would that be an indication that their hormones might be off?
Most likely, more likely than not. And of course, it helps for sexual potency. It actually increases your sperm count and thereby increases your fertility. And these are just some of the factors that decreases your own testosterone production. Overtraining, which I'm sure Judy's going to cover later, is a big factor. Intense emotional stress, and really, who doesn't have emotional stress now? There's financial stress, there's, stress with your children, stress with your spouse. We're eating on the run, so we're eating a lot of high sugar diets, less fiber. And what's important is that, for every 4 seconds, one cell in your testicle dies, producing testosterone.
Wow.
So.
And so I just want to ask you about this. So frequent sexual intercourse actually depletes testosterone?
Yes.
I guess that makes sense. You lose your guys, you lose your testosterone, huh?
And this is what we were talking about before. We're finding actually as early as puberty or early adulthood or any time. It spans any time from puberty to adulthood that testosterone could be depleting. Some people are avid bike riders. Bike riding or motorcycle riding can cause a decrease in testosterone production.
And is that because of the pressure on the testicles?
The pressure and the heat.
Interesting. What about things like saunas and whirlpools and things like that?
That's also indicated.
All right, andropause. So this is kind of a funny graphic.
Love this slide.
But andropause is kind of a taboo topic to men. I feel like people say, andropause is the male version of menopause, which I think that I don't know if that's exactly fair to say that that's what's happening. Just because it makes men feel like, they're supposed to go crazy at this certain time of their life. And that's not...
There's an emotional connotation to it.
It happens a little bit different for men.
Yeah, well, it's an emotional and men usually are going to the doctor thinking it's something else. It's their heart, or it's their depression, or they're anxious, or it could be just as a result of medications that they're on. You know, if they're on medication for high blood pressure, if they're on medication for depression, you know, it could be caused from a myriad of things.
Wow.
So these are just some of the symptoms. And so you can see almost anything could go back to lead you back to having a low testosterone. Now, if you have any of these, do you definitely have a low testosterone level? No. But that's what we do at Patients Medical. We find the root cause. But this certainly could be some of them.
Okay. So that is to say, if you have ear ringing, you don't automatically think, I have low T, I have to go and get a prescription for, you know, something.
Right.
Get it checked out first.
And some men are getting it off the internet now, which is also, you know, because they don't feel comfortable going to their physician. They don't feel comfortable explaining, you know, that maybe they are having trouble in the bedroom because that's a taboo topic. So a lot of people are getting their information and their medicine off the internet.
And there's a lot of scary things on the internet, but also at just like random stores I've noticed, you know, something that's saying it's an herbal and it'll boost your testosterone, but you buy it for like 99 cents or something like that.
Right.
What should guys do about that?
I think they should stay away from that and really find from a professional how to go about doing it the best way for them. And there's different ways. But also, you know, a lot of people in the gym, you know, get it from their friend who has a friend who has a friend. And, you know, well, I use this amount, so, you know, you try this amount and see how it works for you.
No good. That's no good.
It's actually not only not good, it's dangerous. Because you can throw off your entire balance of everything else.
Yeah. Create a much bigger problem than what you originally had. So mental sensitivity, you know, we were talking about emotional before, you know, the anxiety or depression, but it's actually manifesting mentally as well. So when guys are, you know, feeling unmotivated at work or lack of focus, maybe there's something behind that.
Yeah, maybe you don't want to play with your kids like you used to. Maybe you've lost, you know, joy in something that used to give you lots of joy. Even a hobby, you know, you can't concentrate. You're reading the same page over and over again, and you can't understand why.
Low T. Maybe.
So there's 3 different ways we replace them. One is transdermally. You're seeing a lot of commercials on TV for something called androgel. What we do at Patients Medical is after taking your blood tests, we actually formulate with the pharmacy exactly the dose that is needed for you, plus the base that we use. What we put the testosterone in is actually helps the testosterone to be absorbed better. So if you go to your local doctor and they just give you a prescription for androgel, let's say, that's like 1 or 2 doses. You know, you have a choice of this amount or this amount, and you have to fall in between that. We actually formulate it for your need. We're not going to give you too much. We're not going to give you too little. We're just going to give you what you need.
Yeah.
For other people, there's injections, and for yet other people who don't want to be inconvenienced by using a cream or having injections, there's teleformation.
Okay. And the doctor is going to help you figure out which one is the right one for you.
Right. This is very individual medicine.
No one size fits all, no magic bullet. It's just exactly what you
Well, it is magic bullet, but...
All right, contraindications of testosterone. So as much as we love testosterone and get it, getting it perfectly balanced, there's it's not right for everybody all the time.
If you don't need it, you don't need it. And that's what I fear is happening in some of the gyms. People are using it because perhaps they're using other steroids, and they hear, well, by using other steroids, you need to take testosterone, and it actually gets like passed around the gym. But if you don't need testosterone, then you don't need it. And even with the prostate cancer now, they're starting to think otherwise. But for right now, we steer clear till more research is done, because we are practicing evidence-based medicine here. It's not just, off the cuff.
Definitely not. All right, so let's say a guy decides, okay, I might be having some symptoms, I don't know. He wants to come in and see you and try and sort this out. So can you tell us a little bit about what the patient experience is, just to get started?
Well, to get started is really very simple. We take a very extensive history. We will do blood tests from what we gather from that history. We just don't do, like a certain, blood workup. Everything's individual. Whether we use saliva at times, whether we use blood, whether we're going to check your adrenals, whether we're going to check other symptoms or other problems. And then once we get the lab work out, we will sit down with the patient, devise a plan, and then usually we follow up with them every 3 months or so.
Okay. All right. And so once you're balanced, there are certain things you can do to help yourself stay balanced, or if you're already balanced and you don't need testosterone, here are some things that you can do to keep yourself from getting in trouble.
Right, but the last point, avoid or reduce beta blockers, that's true. But on the other hand, if you need them, you need them. I mean, I don't want people looking at this and just going off their beta blockers because, they want to preserve their test. We can preserve your test as long as we know what medications you're on.
Okay. Again, another way to customize treatment here. Not going to yank anybody else off of their medication as necessary. All right. And here, so, this makes a little bit more sense now, learning everything that we learned before. Just going back to the point about cholesterol. So, all of this starts with cholesterol, basically. And Judy's going to talk next about the nutrition part of it. But just really hitting home about, what you eat and your overall nutrition, it really does affect the testosterone, your heart health, your bone, your muscle health, your skin. It couldn't be more important.
Right. And that's the point I want everybody to really understand. But what I want everybody to understand is it could be a problem with your cholesterol. It could be a problem with your pregnenolone. Men have progesterone. Men have estrogen. And when you do possibly take other steroids for bodybuilding or whatever, it throws off everything here. If you have high stress, it's going to throw off your cortisol, which is going to shift everything too.
All right. So if you're a bodybuilder, just come on in and see Dr. DeNise. She'll help you figure out how to get fit and build
And even
your
if
body.
you want to do what you're doing, we can make sure that your body is in balance. Not that we can necessarily, encourage that, but at least let us help you help yourself.
Very good. Very good. All right, so we're going to just drill down about a couple of points on that map there.
Right. So now DHT is dihydrotestosterone. It's actually the most potent testosterone you have, and it's synthesized from the conversion of testosterone through 5-alpha reductase. Elevated levels can cause increased hair, but in a different pattern. It could cause problems with your prostate. It's considered a cause of prostate cancer. It can increase your male pattern baldness. And estradiol, when people take either too much testosterone or steroids in different ways, it can increase your estradiol and can also cause enlarged breasts, or also known as gynecomastia. It could decrease your sex drive. It could decrease the size of your testicles. It could increase rheumatoid arthritis and insulin resistance, and it doubles your rate of stroke. And so these always, even without going to the gym or taking other steroids, drinking alcohol, drinking too much coffee, low intake of animal protein. So for people who are vegans, have to be very careful with this. Obesity, tight underwear. We had a young man who came in and his testosterone was extremely low, only to find out that by switching to boxers, it increased his own testosterone.
Interesting. Yet another lifestyle change that our doctors recommend that is so minor but makes a huge difference to the patient.
Huge difference.
Yeah, so that young man could have seen another more conventional doctor and would have gotten a prescription.
Well, maybe he wouldn't even gotten tested. You know, he had come in just for anxiety and just not feeling well, and it was just part of something we decided to test.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting.
As a matter of fact, I'm seeing more and more young men with this problem. So
very interesting. Right, causes of high estradiol.
Right. And so you see even antibiotics, cardiovascular drugs, psychiatric drugs, people who have growth hormone deficiency or cortisol deficiency or hypothyroidism.
And, you know, just noticing the excessive estrogen exposure, you know, guys might think, well, how am I exposed to estrogen? But there's xenoestrogens everywhere. In our plastic bottles, in the air we breathe.
I just read an article today that the tea bags from that we all use for tea, whether it be green tea, has chemicals in it by BPA and other chemicals that are toxic to us and act as estrogens.
Now here you are trying to drink a cup of green tea, trying to do something healthy for yourself, and you're getting xenoestrogens. Oh, wow. So whole leaf green tea, beautiful.
Exactly.
All right, and some supplements that guys might be able to take, again, after consulting a physician, a holistic physician who really knows what they're doing with supplements.
Right, and when you read this list, I don't want everybody just running out to the store and picking up one of each. We actually will measure your zinc levels. The amount of saw palmetto will depend on whether you have a high estrogen level or not. So everything is actually measured.
No arbitrary assignment of supplements.
And the pregnenolone, this is really the basic hormone in a man's body. And it starts to decline around 30 years of age. So we watch DHEA, but DHEA in men isn't as effective as it is in women. So although we do monitor, we're monitoring everything else as well. But it's extremely important. They're actually using this a lot now for stroke victims and for Alzheimer's. It increases nerve transmission and memory, and it helps with stress resistance and mood and complaints of pain and inflammation. So if you're thinking, well, I'm getting more achy from the gym because I'm getting older, it may not be. It may be that your pregnenolone levels are off.
Yeah, these things are not necessarily natural consequences of getting older.
And it's a potent memory. It's potent for concentration and memory. It's also being used for schizophrenia now as a treatment.
Wow.
But again, please, the other big take-home point is do not rush out, because it is available at your health food stores. But please do not rush out and take it, because you could upset all your other hormones.
Definitely don't want to do that. A few other notes about pregnenolone. All right. So, Dr. DeNise, what is the biggest thing that you could tell men who are concerned about it? Maybe they're not even sure whether or not they're having symptoms. They think that they're okay, but can't really put their finger on what's different, what's changed, but they know something has. What would you tell them to do?
They need a comprehensive workup, and that doesn't mean, I don't want anybody sitting in the audience to think, oh, it's going to be long and drawn out. No, it's a blood test. But you need to have an integrative physician who's aware how the symphony of how all these hormones come into play, and to have the time to sit down and listen to them and hear a history and hear what's really bothering them.
Mm-hmm. Very, very helpful to have that partner in wellness, to have a guide to tell you what blood tests you need, how to interpret them, and then what to do.
And to have the time.
Yeah.
To have the time to sit and listen to you, and you don't feel rushed, and you don't feel, oh my God, I gotta get it all out in like 3 minutes because he's going to be walking out the door.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. It's too, yeah, Judy was just saying that it's too quick. You can't get out what you need to get out. Well, thank you, Dr. DeNise. And she's going to stick with us while Judy is talking to us a little bit about how guys can boost their mojo with nutrition and exercise. Now, I know that lots of guys that I know, of course, not all guys are like this, but a lot of guys I know are fast food guys, right? They're busy, they're on the go, they're either professionals and they're just, grabbing whatever from the deli on their way to work. They grab whatever they can that's close to their office. They eat at their desk. Probably not a lot of room for exercise except for when they're running for the train. Judy, tell us, what can we do about this?
Hi, Megan. Hi, Dr. DeNise. Hi, everyone out there. So I think when people get roadblocked on exercise, they think of it as this big, long thing they have to do for an hour. So the first thing I want to say is even a 15-minute, even 10 minutes, anything counts, and it is cumulative throughout the day. So if you have 10 minutes here and 10 minutes there, yeah, you might not be able to do a full body workout or, get every muscle in, but you can do something and build on it as the day goes on. And studies have shown that just 15 minutes can start to boost your testosterone levels. And if you're overweight, the exercise will boost your testosterone levels even more, and it will help you lose weight. And if you're less fit, it's going to have more of an impact. So once you get, your marginal gains as you go on your fitness level. And naturally, if you're older, you might not get as much of a post-workout benefit from the boost in testosterone, but there are other benefits from exercise, such as bone and muscle health, and especially improved balance, which is really critical as you age. So there are other things to think about as well when we're talking about exercise. And one interesting fact that comes up in the research is that actually exercise in the evening builds the testosterone more than during the day.
Now that's really interesting because usually you tell people not to work out before they go to bed. But so what would be an optimum time for somebody to work out then? So it's not too close to bed, but they still get the benefit.
I'd say like 2 to 3 hours, so that you maybe right after work, you have time to unwind and have a meal and relax a little bit. That would be optimum. But I will say one thing: the most important thing is that you do it. So it's not like it's a huge difference that you must change your whole lifestyle to make sure you exercise at night, and then you'll never get to it because it becomes such an obstacle in your lifestyle. If the only time you really get to exercise is in the morning, it's much more beneficial that you do it consistently than if you squeeze it in at night and it's not really going to work for you.
Mm-hmm. Just do it.
Just do it.
Like they say. Right?
So full body workouts are the best because you're doing multiple muscles at a time. Higher weights with lower reps with lower weights, of course, will build muscle better than a lot of cardio. And then, of course, to increase intensity, you can decrease your rest period in between. So basically, if you're thinking about testosterone and overall, like just an overall of everything, one of the big things that has an impact, as I just mentioned, is lifting weights. And the more intense the exercise is, the more the impact on the testosterone. The watch football one is, these are some studies that show that people that are watching sports get the same surge in testosterone if their team is winning. But if the team isn't winning, they don't.
Okay, so only watch sports teams that win.
And shut the TV off if the team is losing. So that's kind of funny, and it's, one study or two, but I'm not saying it's a huge impact, but it was kind of an interesting tidbit. Of course, we want to eat good fats. And one thing about fat that people are worried about eating fat, but if it's good fat, it actually preserves your protein, because if you don't have enough fat, your body's going to go somewhere for calories, and it will start to look to protein, and it will break down muscle to find sources of energy. So you got to make sure you have a good balance of calories, and fat should be definitely included.
And Judy is going to tell us all about the difference between good fat and bad fat in just a few minutes.
Yes. And eggs. So the whole thing about cholesterol, people are afraid to eat the whole egg versus the whites. I'll get into that a little bit more, but overall, eggs have a positive impact on your HDL, your good cholesterol, and that's one of the building blocks of testosterone. Plus, the egg has zinc in the yolk, as well as when the white has the protein. So the two of them help to increase testosterone. We kind of talked about overtraining. It increases your your cortisol, which then competes with the testosterone and breaks down muscle. So overtraining, without giving your body time to rest in between, can actually work against you. Sleeping, this is a good one. I know my man likes to sleep. So getting at least 7 hours of sleep or more actually is helpful. Less than 7 hours, some studies show, can lower testosterone by about 30% and also decrease growth hormone. And cabbage. Cabbage is a food that has a chemical in it, an IC3, which basically is a phytochemical, and that basically increases testosterone and decreases estrogen. So eating cabbage is very beneficial to your diet. So I just picked that one out because it has such a significant finding. Alcohol actually decreases testosterone for about 24 hours, so you have to watch what you're drinking. Seeds, so nuts and seeds, basically with vitamin E and zinc, they actually help support testosterone. Another one, the controversial sunshine thing. You know, we all know vitamin D is increased when you're exposed to the sun, but just 15 to 20 minutes exposure can increase your testosterone by 120%, which is a study that was done.
So this is a lot of information or a lot of tips that you are probably, or many men are thinking, this is contrary to what anybody's ever told me. They're telling me that I should watch football, that I should eat eggs, that I should eat fat, that I should sleep more, eating more sunflower seeds. I think that's an easy one for a lot of men too. So this is going to make a lot of guys happy.
Yes, but everything in moderation. Let's not forget that. Okay, so lean body mass. Some of the better proteins are, a lot of them are animal-based, whey protein, egg whites. And again, that doesn't mean that the yolk isn't good, but there is a lot of protein in the egg white, lean meats, nuts, fish, and then the actual whole egg. So when we're eating, one of the ways to help keep the protein consistent, you can only absorb so much at one meal, so it doesn't really help you to eat a huge amount at once. So having snacking throughout the day with the right balance, and we'll get into that, helps to increase your lean body mass. Resistance exercise, Dr. DeNise talked about testosterone replacement, and we just mentioned healthy sleep, so that's just kind of like a little summary. So here is the plate. So, and this is...
It's all the major food groups, right? You have the fruits and vegetables, right? Your potato chips, and your fats, right? The protein with the burger there, and the good carbs, right?
Yeah, they're loaded with them. I like that chocolate icing. So there you go. Aren't you happy? Now, that's just a trick. The real plate. So this is the real plate. So on the left side of the plate, you'll notice half of the plate is devoted to fruits and vegetables, and the other half is split between lean proteins and dairy, and the other half is carbohydrates. So just a visual thing, so you don't have to worry about weighing and measure when we talk about balance. You can find a million articles about what percentage of this and what percentage of that. It gets very confusing.
But this would be like your full day plate, right?
Yeah.
Or not necessarily every single meal has to look exactly like this.
Not every single, but if you're going to omit something, I mean, you should always have a little bit of protein. And usually with protein comes healthy fat or some fat, depending on it's another thing that we'll get into, but say if you are going to have an animal-based protein, try to think and be responsible as possible so that you'll have grass-fed beef as opposed to something bought in the store, antibiotic-free or organic whenever you can. And very important as well with dairy products and eggs as well, like cage-free eggs. Their type of fat in those eggs is different than the type of fat that you'll get from a chicken that was smashed in a cage with 5 million other chickens. Their whole body chemistry is different.
Happy and healthy chickens make happier and healthier eggs, right?
It's very true. Mm-hmm. Very true. So here's a visual of the plate. So you see some salmon in the upper right-hand corner if you're facing the slide. And then the other half of the quarter of the plate is some brown rice, which is a good carb, which we'll get into. And then on the left side, you'll see some greens and some carrots and string beans, so all good vegetables. So good carbs versus bad carbs. So in a nutshell, what this is saying is a good carb is going to be something that raises your blood sugar more slowly, and therefore your secretion of insulin, which is the hormone that regulates the absorption of blood sugar, is going to be released more slowly. So on the left side, you see a gentle spike and a gentle drop. And on the right side, you see a dramatic spike in both the carbohydrate, which is the blood glucose, and the insulin, and then a dramatic drop. So what happens at that drop point is you become cranky, you become forgetful, you become tired, and in that scenario, when your insulin is high, your body is more apt to store fat because insulin is a fat-storing hormone, and it likes to store fat in your favorite place, the tummy. So on the left side, you're experiencing more energy, better moods, memory, and most of all, you're optimizing your hormones. So they're working together, and you're burning fat, and your whole body is just happier. So that's the chemical thing that's going on in your body when you're eating. On the right side, you're eating donuts, and on the left side, you're eating a grain like brown rice. So I kind of already touched on the bad carb, but that's a cute one. And the gingerbread man is a bad carb, but they are good in moderation. And again, at the top, you see some oatmeal, some organic milk, I'm going to assume it's organic, and some apples and lemons and some fruits at the top, and some pineapple there. The bad carbs would be all the things we love to have, like cinnamon rolls, Cinnabons, right? So again, I basically already touched this, but you're going to have better energy, better metabolism, and on a good carb, basically, anything on the white side is really not good. If it's like it will have, you want something with more fiber. If it's the darker grains, will have more nutrients, and they'll be lower glycemic type carbohydrates, which means they impact your blood sugar in a less dramatic way. They don't have as big an impact on your blood sugar.
You can be prejudiced against white carbs.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. And then we also, that whole first slide kind of was all the words behind it. So the high insulin leads to high triglycerides. So in a sense, in my experience, when I'm talking to people, if they want to watch their heart condition, I really try to focus a lot on the types of carbohydrates and sugars they're having. Not that we don't talk about cholesterol, but there's a lot of literature that supports that simple carbohydrates and high sugar type diets are actually worse for your heart health. For that reason, increasing insulin resistance and triglycerides. So again, we're going to avoid anything refined, sugar, high fructose corn syrup, and white, highly milled grains. So as a rule of thumb, try to have more than 50% of your calories from healthy carbs. So let's remember one other thing. Carbohydrates are not just grains. They're also every vegetable, even spinach, is a carbohydrate. So when we talk about sometimes you'll see these low-carb diets, they might take out some of the grains or the breads, and that's not so much because they're bad, but the more fibrous type carbohydrates like vegetables have more water and more fiber. They absorb more slowly. They affect your blood sugar more gradually. So when you think about carbohydrates, you don't want to just think about potatoes or cereals. You also want to remember that, hey, I'm going to have a healthy, I'm going to have I'm going to have 50% of my diet from carbs. Doesn't mean you're going to have, half a loaf of bread. It means that, you're going to have vegetables and fruits too.
Good news. So you can kind of diversify your carbs.
Yes, there's a lot. And beans, let's not forget them. They're very high in fiber as well. Fat is not a four-letter word. So I think we talked about that a little bit, about as far as how it preserves your protein. But also we need fats for energy and the immune system. We have some fat-soluble vitamins, A, D, E, and K, that would not be absorbed without fat in the diet. And as you saw from Dr. Denise's slides, most of your hormones they're derived from fats. So then we have the good fats and the bad fats. So at the top of the good fats, and I think everyone's pretty familiar with this because it's certainly gotten a lot more attention in mainstream media. So salmon, avocado is a really healthy, has some really good fats in it. Nuts and seeds. And on the other side we have nut butter, that's another example. Extra virgin olive oil, olives, those types of things, really good types of fats. And of course all the stuff you really want to hear about, your chips and your cupcakes and your pizzas, and butter. Well, can't forget butter. So those are all the more processed, refined, and saturated fats. So like the top ones were more monounsaturated, olive oil, polyunsaturated, omega-3s, omega-6s, and those types of things in the top all had the healthy fats. So those are just examples. And the bad fats are in the good foods, and I'm just teasing, they're not the good foods. The ones that we find kind of tasty, but they have all the processed types of oils, lards, and man-made type of highly processed fats. Protein, we know, is a building block of muscle mass. It supports the immune system, repairs muscle tissue, and again is present in hormone production. So how much protein do you need? You can look in many different sources, and there's a lot of different numbers out there, but as a general suggestion, it varies. Basically, the slide's just telling you based on your activity level, it varies how much protein you should have per kilogram of body weight.
And is there, when I'm looking at this 1 to 2 grams per kilogram, that's kind of difficult for me to visualize. Is there any sort of rule of thumb that you can use when you're out and you're not sure how to calculate how many grams per kilogram you're eating?
Well, basically, if you take your body weight and divide it by 2, that's close to the number of kilograms. It's not exact, but it's close. And then you would multiply it by the number. So if it's 1 gram, if you weighed 100 pounds, you'd say, okay, I'm about 50 kilograms. So I'm going to have, if I'm in the second section where I'm an athlete and I'm a pretty avid exerciser, I would want to shoot for 50 grams of protein per day. But that does sound a little high, but this is more for someone that's quite athletic.
Okay.
If you're sedentary, you don't need quite as much.
Okay.
But again, if you just stick to the plate and you put that quarter, and it's a animal protein, it's going to be sufficient. Now, we'll talk about that because certain proteins are used better in the body than others. So too much protein can be just as bad. It's not just like Dr. Denise was saying, if your testosterone level is fine, you don't really need to take more. It doesn't mean more is better. The same thing with protein. It basically can actually deplete your calcium, mess up your fluid balance, make you actually hungry because your body's going to be craving other things, slow down your metabolism, and deplete your energy. And then, of course, you can have a rebound in weight from all those things. So some good protein sources are basically, and again, the quality of the things you're buying is very important when you look at these types of slides. So, wild fish that's not predatory, so there's low mercury, would be better than, say, tuna, because that's very high in mercury. And I know tuna is a very big staple in the bodybuilding world, but it's really not. I always tell people if you have maybe tuna once a month, that's good. And it makes me sad because the tuna is a great little snack, but it just has too many other.
Is there any fish that you would recommend? I mean, we mentioned salmon briefly earlier. Is that better than tuna in your estimation? Or?
Yes, it's not a predatory fish. It doesn't have a lot of mercury. It's on the safe list. Like there's a government listing. If you just Google high mercury content, you'll see some fishes that are safer than others. So yes, and salmon also has the omega-3s. So it's really kind of well balanced. Okay, so we talked about all these. Yogurt too is another good one, especially the Greek yogurts. They're processed, or when they're made in a way so that they have more protein and less sugars than regular American yogurt. So Greek yogurt is really a good snack for people that are exercising. And again, this kind of ties into what we were saying before, the Greek yogurt. Cottage cheese is really a good source because it has the milk protein casein. And then, you have to watch out, of course, if you have a dairy allergy, there's plenty of other options for you for protein. And again, some more similar information. When you're talking about nut butters, it's better to find something that the ingredient is just the nut butter, because added oils, a lot of times you'll see concentrated cane juice syrup or something else in there. Those are the types of things you want to avoid, because your healthy snack then gets changed into something that's not quite so healthy. And this is what I was referring to before, so it's called the biological value, so it just tells you how well the body can absorb and utilize that thing that you're eating. So eggs is number one on the list. So it's just saying that for every gram of protein you're having in an egg, it gets absorbed the best. So for every gram of protein that you're having in corn, it's half as effective, because it's 54. So you need more corn to get the same amount of impact in your body, almost twice as much as you would with eggs. Okay, the reason we have water in here is because we're talking about diet, but one of the, your muscle is largely composed of water. So there's a lot of things in the literature about water, but basically, 96 ounces is a good thing, but basically you can also go by half your body weight in ounces. So if you're 100 pounds, it would be 50 ounces. So a real small person wouldn't really need 96 ounces, but it's kind of like a general rule of thumb. And you should have extra water if you're heavier, so that's why the half your body weight in water kind of is another helpful calculation. Also, obviously, if you're in a hot climate or you're exercising a lot, you should drink more water. And here's some of the benefits that come with water. But one of the main things is that it's going to help your exercise performance. And then it helps your endocrine gland function, which is going to help your testosterone, your blood volume, your body temperature, all those things help you exercise better. Keeps you, a lot of times if you think you're hungry, you're really thirsty. And you should never wait till you're too thirsty, because then you're past the point of needing to drink water, because your body your thirst mechanism isn't really accurate. So you need to drink before you feel thirsty.
Now, I know that some people, Judy, people go throughout their whole day and they feel like it's very difficult to drink water.
Yes.
So what do you recommend for people who are like, you know what, I'm on the go, I don't have time to drink water? What is your best recommendation for those people?
They have time to do everything else they want to do, right? So there's a lot of things they could do. So you can either, if you're on the go, you just carry a little bottle with you. Mm-hmm. You can grab a carbonated water if you can't, if you want to have, if you're a soda person and you just don't like the taste of water. If you're sedentary and sitting at a desk, you can have a bottle at your desk at all times. And you can also put a little lemon or something to make it a little more interesting. And I personally am one of the lazy people about drinking water, and I have little rules established that. So when I get up in the morning, I can't leave for work unless I have a full bottle, 2 glasses of water. And I will tell you that I never really want to drink it, but it's almost as soon as I start drinking it, then I start to really drink it. And it happens every day. It's like I don't really want to drink it, but I can't leave the apartment, and then when I'm on the train, I have to drink another bottle. So I have these little rules. If I'm sitting there, I really have no excuse not to drink my water. So just those couple of things. But do think of it as like if you're a plant and you've been unwatered, so you're sleeping all night, you haven't eaten or drank, your body's detoxing, your liver and all your muscles and organs are working to detoxify you. When you wake up, the water is a nice way to help the body flush those things out. And like a plant, it perks you up. It gets your metabolism going, and your body, like, it really needs it whether you feel it or not.
I feel much more focused after I drink some water too, and I'm not a coffee drinker, so maybe I'm missing that boat. But I feel like just drinking the water helps my brain engage in the morning.
It does, and that's why, like, even if you're 10% dehydrated, it's going to impact not only how you perform physically but mentally. Mm-hmm. So, and I just wanted to mention a couple of things too, like with exercise and helping you because you want to boost your testosterone. Your blood volume will be less. Your heart rate will go up. You'll have less cardiac output, so it's going to be harder for you to exercise because you're not going to be able to get oxygen to your muscles to work. And you'll have decreased blood flow to the skin, so you won't be sweating as well, so you'll get hot and irritable, you don't want to move. Your perceived exertion, your perception of how much energy you have will be, you'll feel a lot more tired. And your muscle glycogen, which is your stored energy for your muscles, will be used more because you don't have enough water. So it really affects your testosterone in a kind of indirect way, but it's another way to motivate you. Okay, so before and after workout, it's pretty similar, but basically it's easy to think about the things that you shouldn't have, like something really fatty, those donuts, sugar, very quickly absorbed candies, something too much, like the meal there on the right, while it looks quite, somewhat, with the red wine and the meat's kind of overpowering the plate, right? So it's kind of distorted the proportions of where the vegetables should be in the meat. They're kind of backwards. So that would be very heavy, very hard for the body to process and digest that all, and then your digestion is going to compete with your muscles, that are looking for blood supply.
Wait, Judy, no wine before exercise?
Yeah, there's a lot of good things about wine, but it really doesn't give you too much motivation. So after you work out, the best time is to have your food within a half an hour to 15 minutes to a half an hour from after your workout, and that's when your body does absorb and utilize the nutrients most efficiently. So that's the best thing to do, is so you have to do a little bit of planning so that you have your post-workout meal it's not going to kill you if you don't. Again, it's more important that you eat the right thing. It's better that you wait an hour and 15 minutes and eat the right thing than grab, in my mind, a bag of potato chips or a candy bar within the next 10 minutes. So before the workout, some healthy, balanced foods that are a little bit lighter would be some oatmeal, and portions would be, moderate, like a half a cup fruit and cottage cheese, and some Greek yogurt, and some berries. So that would be really good because you have a nice balance of carbohydrates, some healthy fat, and, of course, protein. And then afterwards, you can have similar type of meal, but, something that's just a little more substantial, like a wrap, or the salmon with some whole wheat crackers, or some whole spinach, or some brown rice. And then on the eggs, you could actually use a regular omelet if you want. It doesn't have to be egg whites because the fat will be okay there because you've already done your exercise. It'll even be okay before, it's just that too much fat will slow you down. So there's a shopping list, and it's basically a summary of the things we've been looking at. It's always nice to have a list. And just briefly, I think I think exercise is a really good first line of defense against developing any types of diseases. So it just tells you all these things that it does. And there's really nothing that exercise can harm unless you're doing too much and you're not, and your health state isn't the right thing, or you're doing the wrong kind of exercise, or you're not resting. So let's talk a little bit about aerobic exercise. The bottom line I want to say about this is do something you enjoy, And interval training is probably, based on the current literature, the most effective. And all that is that you're mixing high bursts of energy level, like so maybe you're at a level 9 for 1 or 2 minutes, and then you go down to like your steady state for about 1 or 2 minutes. So you're constantly going up and down, and this helps your body burn more fat, and it actually gives you a more intense workout in a shorter period of time.
Which is great, right?
Yeah.
For people who are saying, I don't have to spend hours and hours at the gym every day. You can get it done a little bit more quickly and maybe even be more effective.
Yeah, and the intensity actually has more impact on your results than the duration. You know, that's what they're saying now. I know they change it over time, but there's a lot of things to support that. So we kind of already touched on resistance exercise, but again, for the best bang for your buck is to hit the bigger muscles because they affect the most tissue and they will get you the results faster. So basically a squat, that's going to encompass your whole lower body. A bench press would be for your chest as the pectoral muscles are large, and your lat, which is your back. Those are all your largest muscles, and all the other ancillary muscles you do after when you've already utilized the big ones. And full range of motion recruits and builds the most muscle mass because you're engaging more muscle fibers. So you want to do a couple of warm-up sets, and you want to then add your heavy sets, maybe 2 to 3 heavy sets per exercise. About 60 minutes is even pushing it. If you're doing something intense, I'd say around 45, top 60 minutes. If you're going beyond 60 minutes and you're still lifting weights, your intensity is it's not really optimal. And I'm not saying you're wasting time, but you don't need to do that, and then it becomes a job and grueling. And this slide is basically talking about, your body is basically lazy, so if you do the same thing over and over, it's not going to really make a change. So you want to have progressive resistance because you'll be asking your body to do a little bit more, so it's going to have to recruit more muscle fibers, it's going to have to supply more oxygen, bring more blood, and then it has to make an adaptation to do that, to perform that work, and that's when your muscles grow. So that's kind of the recipe: progressive resistance, then rest in between, like a day or 2 here and there. So all those things are really important to get results. So one thing I really notice is people go you have to have a plan. I know I said before, as long as you're doing something, it's important, but if your goal is to increase your muscle mass, it's just not going to happen by fiddling here and there and doing this and that. You really do have to have a plan. So there is a science behind it. But again, having no plan and doing exercise is better than not doing any at all. So I'm just telling you that the best way to get your muscle mass up would be to keep track of what you're doing and gradually push your body a little bit more in a safe, effective way.
Well, and that's with everything else that we've been talking about here today. It's great if you just, want to put some energy into it and get started on your own.
Yeah.
But to really hone in on what you need to do to get from point A to point B, to get results, to actually really start feeling better, work with a professional.
Yeah.
Get with a trainer, get with a nutritionist, get with a holistic doctor, and really make a plan so that it's easier for you to just follow step by step what you need to do. And that way, it'll be much less confusing.
Yeah.
You'll be sure that you're on the right track. If not, then the professional can help you tweak the plan so that you can actually reach your goal instead of floundering.
I'm glad you brought that up, Megan, because just like our medicine, there's not one recipe for everybody. It's the same thing with exercise. So one person might come and maybe they don't even have any balance or their joints are weak. So they have to start. They really shouldn't start lifting weights. They should start working on their foundation. So they need to work on their balance and their core, so then when they get to lift weights, they're safer and they can do progressive training better. So there's all different aspects to training too, and each person needs to be evaluated. Some people have imbalances that need to be corrected before they do other things. So yes, it's very important that someone evaluate you and assess where you are. And the other thing is, if you do work with a professional, they'll start with your baseline and then you can track your progress, and that's very rewarding because it does work. The body is an amazing thing. Okay, So again, we're not going to overtrain because we already learned that it's going to increase our cortisol and actually do the opposite of what we want and make us very miserable, like this young man here just plunked at the bottom of the stairs. And some of the signs that if once you get into it, sometimes you don't realize what's going on, but if you're always sore and you're never feeling normal, that's a sign. You're not sleeping well. You get to the gym and you just like can't really do what you did maybe the 2 or 3 weeks before. You just feel like your energy's out of there. If you're doing work with the doctor, you see your testosterone levels dropping and your cortisol spiking because your body's stressed. And last but not least, I'd like to leave with you this beautiful visual that, let's manage your expectations, right? So if you have a gymnast body by nature, you're not going to probably not end up looking like Arnold Schwarzenegger. If you're Arnold Schwarzenegger, you're probably never going to look like a gymnast. It's just that, or if your genetics are a certain thing, you can always make what you have the best it could be. But I don't want to use the word limited, but your expectations should be, realistic. So if you're 55, you might not get the results that a 25-year-old might get. But your overall health and all your well-being it's still a benefit. So some people get frustrated because they still want to be that 25-year-old. So, it's just a question of being happy with where you are and working to make yourself just a little bit better every day. And that's the best we can ask.
Amen, Judy. That could be said for anything about life, right?
Yeah.
Work with what God gives you. All right. So, Judy,
yes.
What would be the best thing for a guy that, there's so many guys who work in offices, especially right here in Midtown Manhattan, that I see them, when I go and grab lunch or walking on the street, and I'm sure you do too, and they just look depleted. They look wan, kind of skinny, hunched over. But, when you talk to them, they're like, wow, I really want to get fit. I really want to, start something, especially around New Year's. They make a New Year's resolution, but it just never seems to work out. What would be the best first step for them as far as just kind of kicking it in gear, making this dream of theirs kind of a reality?
Well, I think the first thing is if they take a small step. So maybe when they're at work, instead of using the elevator, they can use the stairs. The stairs are very excellent exercise, and they can be quite grueling. If they're driving, maybe they could walk part of the way or take a bus. So they have to walk to the bus stop to get on the bus, or in the subway, at least you have to go up and down the stairs. Then the other thing that they could do is kind of make a commitment, join a sports team, or something that's more fun, so it's not so much a job, and then it's more of an activity. So that might get their appetites wet, and then there's a little social component to it, as long as you don't have too many glasses of wine or beer afterwards. That could be a great way too. And then last but not least, a financial commitment I think always works with men, of course, because they're, not to be sexist, but they tend to be a little more pragmatic. And if they're going to invest in something like that, that would be like further down the road. You've committed yourself to this, so it makes it easier not to say, I'm not going to do that today. So, the first step would be making small steps and doing little combinations throughout the day.
Great. So you can do something right now, today, without really having to commit to anything huge or worry about, like, am I doing the wrong thing? Take the stairs.
Take the stairs. Do a push-up on the floor of your office.
There
Just
you
make
go.
sure you know how you're doing it.
Lots of options. Lots of options. Thank you so much, Judy. So you can get back on track with your health and boost your mojo naturally. You can start today. So just like Dr. DeNise and Judy were just telling us, there's plenty of things that we can do right now. But, one of the main things that you can do, especially if you have a goal or you're symptomatic or you're not really sure what to do, just start with talking to a holistic physician who is trained and qualified. If you're in the New York City or tri-state area, talk with Dr. Vivian DeNise right here in our office. She's excellent, and she can get you started. We also have many other holistic doctors here at our center. Here they all are again. If you're not in the New York City area, we could have you call in, and you could do a phone consultation. But even better yet would be to have somebody in your area who you trust and can see you physically, and at least get you started. That would probably be the best thing for you, to develop a relationship with a doctor who you feel comfortable talking to about your medical problems, and what your health goals are, and who can help get you to that goal, or at least help you figure out what the goal is. Another way that you can help support yourself in getting the information that you need is going to our website, patientsmedical.com. And whether you're close to New York City or whether you're very far away, you can always come to our website and check out information on our physicians, on many different health conditions, on the different treatments that we have available, conditions specific to men, women, and then we also have a blog and a resources page. And well, if you're listening to this, you've probably already found our resources page, because that's probably where you noticed us here. But we also have a blog that our doctors very often contribute to, and you can look at our most recent article on there. This would be one from the flu season. This is not our most recent one, unfortunately. But just contributions from our doctors help get you information, even if you're not able to come into Patients Medical, or maybe you're not quite ready to. So we look forward to hearing any and all of your comments or questions. If you have a question about the services we provide or one of our doctors, please either just email me at media@patientsmedical.com, like we have right there on the screen. It's media@patientsmedical.com, or give us a call at 212-679-9667. Again, my name is Megan Franzen. I'm a patient care supervisor here. I can definitely help get you to the right place or answer your questions. And I'm going to thank Dr. Vivian DeNise and Judy Penta for sharing their time and expertise with us today. Thank you both.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And we look forward to speaking to you again soon. Thank you for joining us today.